did they say to you? Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Remain silent. And we'll get in touch with Purge, okay?
You have a...
Shane, don't say anything. Good, guys.
All right, bro.
It will forever be known as Bloody Friday. You will remember Ottawa, and you will remember this day. What we are watching is historic. What we are watching will go down in the history books. Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., peaceful protesters who fought against tyranny. They got their skulls bashed in. They got imprisoned. They got locked up. They got beaten. These men are now seen as freedom fighters throughout history, and the truckers in Canada, the Freedom Convoy, will be seen as the same. It is a despotic, evil, authoritarian regime. Justin Trudeau has proven precisely who he is. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We are bringing to you live breaking reports from Canada, reports that are happening right now as we speak. We are in contact with Ezra Levant, the editor of Rebel Media. He is the publisher of Rebel News, and he is on the ground right now, one of our favorite sources of information, and he is texting us and DMing us that at this very second, the reporter that he has on the ground is being assaulted by police officers in Canada. That's after a night of arrests when the police arrested peaceful protesters standing in the street. On what grounds is the question? There's only one question here. On what grounds? Justin Trudeau has yet to have Parliament exercise his order for emergency powers. Parliament needs to approve it. Justin Trudeau knows that won't happen, and so he is swooping in with his Gestapo, these oath breakers. I have been pro-police my entire life. I have backed the blue. I have worn pro-police insignia, and I certainly own my own thin blue line apparel, ladies and gentlemen. I always stand with the police. This year has shaken and shook me to the core. At what point do you stop following orders? At what point do you take that oath to say that you will protect and serve? And do you understand that as the forces of law enforcement, you are no longer protecting and serving, you are becoming agents of a dictatorial, authoritarian power that means harm to the people that are yours to protect. Ladies and gentlemen, the Nuremberg defense is a famous defense used by the Third Reich and its collaborators in Nuremberg trials. Many of these officers just said, I was following orders. You know, someone at the top told me to do these evil things. And that is how genocides happen. That is how crimes against humanities happen. Ladies and gentlemen, police have shut down Parliament. Police have shut down a peaceful protest, and they are shutting down the media. Playing on your screen right now are the arrests of various members of the Freedom Convoy. Lish is one of them. You can see her being arrested right now. She was arrested last night while she was walking down the street. She'll be in jail soon. She predicted she would be going to jail soon in a clip that should or listen.
There's a pretty good chance. Well, I think it's inevitable at this point. But I'll probably be going somewhere tomorrow where I'll be getting 3 square meals a day. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. And I want you to know that I'm not afraid.
Along with Lish, other convoy organizers have been arrested in the dark of night. This always happens in the dark of night, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Barber was arrested, along with Shane Pebbles Marshall. We played their arrest clips at the beginning of the show, and they were arrested by what looks like hundreds of officers surrounding them, bringing them in as though they had captured a terrorist. Hold the line. Hold the line. That's all we can say on this show. You know, history is a very long, soothing arc. It smooths out the roughest rocks. When MLK was arrested, it was because he was standing up to laws that were evil. If you were arrested in Selma, if you were beaten in Selma, if you were arrested on the Edward Pettus Bridge, if you got a mug shot from those days, that's now seen as a badge of honor. You were fighting an unjust system. It meant a little bit of pain at the time. It meant that the authorities would come in and perhaps harass you, maybe even arrest you. Right now, the cops who are saying they're just following orders will hang their heads in shame. They disgrace their badge and they disgrace their position on their police forces. They are just following orders, thugs, the same as the Gestapo agents and those who sat there at the Nuremberg trials saying, hey, listen guys, we were just following orders. You're an oath breaker, ladies and gentlemen. There are things more valuable than your job. Trust me. I had to move out of tyranny myself this year. I moved my family 1,000 miles down the coast. We left everything that was comfortable to us, our friends, our friend groups, the places that we used to like to go. We lived in Washington, D.C. for 15 years. There came a moment when the police abandoned Washington, D.C., and you started to feel literal evil inside of the city. We had to get out of that place, and so I fled. If you are not willing to get up and move, if you are not willing to throw down your badge, if you are not willing to park your truck, if you are not willing to experience a small amount of discomfort for the freedom of your children and the freedom of a generation that has yet to come, your children, perhaps your grandchildren. We are expecting new baby Johnson in the coming months in the Johnson household. I fight for her. I will move my family, uproot my family, do extremely hard things, uproot an entire company, and rebuild for the betterment of my children. What will you do, ladies and gentlemen? We wish to be able to bring you this show freely. We wish to be able to broadcast in peace and to be able to walk down the street unassaulted. That was not possible where I was living. And it wasn't possible because of cowards like this, because of oath breakers. You have to get out of the cities, you have to get out of these places, and you must fight them from without and from within. Fighting is what the Canadian truckers are doing right now. It is indeed the night of the long knives. It is Bloody Friday, ladies and gentlemen. The people who have been organizing this Canadian trucker movement have been arrested in the dark of night, as these cowards always do. This comes after Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act on Monday, which gives the government power to clear protesters and to tow vehicles by force. Tow truck companies were not cooperating. They were giving Justin Trudeau the middle finger and were saying, you can't force us. Now Justin Trudeau is able to force them to tow these vehicles. More direct measures will be used, like freezing personal bank accounts. The regime intends to continue to arrest protesters. Ladies, we'll show you a tweet here from the Ottawa police. A scary, chilling, horrifying tweet. Demonstrators, you must leave. You must cease unlawful activity. Immediately remove your vehicles and property. This unlawful protest site may be arrested. Demonstrators leave, and it's not just demonstrators. Ladies and gentlemen, Fox News reporters on the ground claim that they themselves are being threatened with arrest. A terrifying moment. The Ottawa interim police chief, the police chief who was in charge, resigned. We have conflicting accounts there as to whether he resigned in disgrace, whether he could not carry out these orders. But the police chief, who is currently the interim police chief, said this: we will now be removing children. We will be taking children from their families. Listen to him. Clip 10.
Yes. Hi, Elizabeth Laplante. I'm from TVA News in Montreal. When are you planning to intervene for the kids in the protest?
So thanks for the question. One of the key concerns that we've had as we've planned and looked at how we want to proceed to end this protest is the number of children that remain in there. We continue to work with our partners from the Children's Aid Society and other social services to look at the best, most safest way to have children removed from the area prior to any sort of police action. We've had members of our police service continue to engage with the protesters to identify that it is not a good place for children to be, that they should make every attempt to remove children from the area. All of our planning has been very considerate of the people that are within the demonstration zone, including the children.
Will they be the first to be removed?
As I indicated, we've worked really hard to make sure all of our plans are very deliberate around protecting children that may be in that footprint.
Let me show you what Fox News reporters are saying right now from the ground. A tweet from Fox News reporter on site saying that Canadian police are telling them that they will be arrested too. All media who are attending the area, please keep a distance and stay out of police operations for your safety. Anyone found within the areas undergoing enforcement will be subject to arrest. They will arrest journalists, and they are arresting journalists right now. The Canadian capital is under martial law. You thought you lived in a free country? You don't, Canada. You live inside of a prison nation. I got a little bit of pushback on social media for calling Canada a prison nation. It is. It is under martial law. You are prisoners. Your warden is Castro Jr., and the police are the guards in charge. You have no rights. You have no civil liberties. You do as you're told. You put your head down, or you will be arrested. Ladies and gentlemen, it is incredible listening to what Ezra is telling us right now. Ezra Levant, the publisher of Rebel News. He has a live feed going right now. It is shocking. We may take it later in the show. His reporters are being beaten, pushed down, knocked down. He is telling me that a reporter that walked us through the trucker convoy earlier last week, Alexandra, she was wonderful. We did a full live with her for an hour, and she brought us into the trucker convoy. She was knocked down by police officers. She's up, however, and continuing her job. These people are thugs. They have riot horses. Women and children have been peacefully protesting, and they are bringing out special forces and riot forces to crush them. They are going to be stealing their children from them, and they are going to be telling media they cannot film it. The first casualty of war is truth. And by what right is he arresting people who are just wandering the streets? The post-millennial has an important breakdown for us. You see, the House of Commons and the Senate, Parliament, must meet to debate Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Emergency Act on Friday. But cleared on Friday. So the debate over whether Justin Trudeau should use the Emergency Act was shut down by police. That's right. Parliament was cleared for police operations in response to the Freedom Convoy on Friday, a peaceful protest. Trudeau's Emergency Act was used as a prerequisite to start clearing out peaceful families, fathers, mothers from the capital of Ottawa. In a letter to Speaker Anthony Rota, the cancellation was announced, saying that Parliament will not sit today. A police operation is expected in the downtown core of Ottawa. Given these exceptional circumstances, the following discussion will be recognized by party leadership and is canceled. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association announced a lawsuit over Trudeau's Emergency Act. Thank God. So now the Canadian Civil Liberties Association is formally challenging Justin Trudeau, saying that his Emergency Act usage against the Canadian truckers is unconstitutional. They're taking him to court for his actions for seriously infringing on the Charter of Rights of Canadians. The Charter of Rights of Canadians, if you're not familiar, reads very similarly to the Bill of Rights here in the United States. It says that Canadians can move about freely. It says that Canadians are free people inside of their country, and that Canadians have rights that shall not be infringed by their government. Of course, Justin Trudeau is violating these rights, and of course, his use of these powers is illegal. It is supposed to represent merely a wartime affront to the sovereignty of Canada, not a peaceful protest. At the news conference by the association, that being the Civil Liberties Association, they announced that their decision will be openly questioning whether the current situation in Canada qualified as an immediate danger to its citizens. Early on Thursday, Canadian Prime Minister described it as a last resort. The government has brought in the extreme measures that should be reserved for national emergencies only, a legal standard that has not been met. Emergency powers cannot and must not be normalized, says the group's executive director, Nora Aviji. Well. It is pretty remarkable that Justin Trudeau has members of his own parliament quitting, members of his own party turning on him, backstabbing him. Most of the premiers, if I'm not mistaken, all of the premiers, the governors, in the terms of an American, the governors have turned their back on Trudeau, have backstabbed him. They are doing away with COVID mandates, and you could have just done away with all of this by meeting with the truckers. Imagine somebody who's not a tyrant, somebody who's not Castro Jr., walking out and saying, hey, let's talk. And then saying, yeah, you're right. These mandates don't make any sense anymore. No more mandates. No more lockdowns. No more Vax Pass. It would have been that easy. And Justin Trudeau would probably be sitting at 70% approval right now. He'd be seen as a great unifier. But that is not the nature of authoritarians. It's not the nature of tyrant. We've covered ad nauseum on this program how Justin Trudeau loves and fetishizes China, a dictatorship, and in dictatorships, dissent is illegal. That is what's going on right now, plain and simple. Dissent is illegal.